Welcome to another edition of Totally Awesome Fishing, and we're in the Totally Awesome Workshop. We're going to show you some fishing knots in the how-to series. Now, if you don't tie the fishing knot correctly, we all know what it is. It's a one-way ticket to a nightmare. You've done all that work, you spent all that money fishing, and then just for the sake of not tying something on the end of here properly, you could lose that fish of a lifetime. So I'm going to show you a few of the better fishing knots. I don't use a huge number of fishing knots myself, but I have some really good tried and tested ones. And it doesn't really matter whether you're tying a size 18 or 20 freshwater hook to 1 pound hook link, or whether you're tying 80 pound mono leader onto something like this for yellowfin or bluefin tuna. The same principles apply. Tie the knot correctly. I'm going to be tying it, if I can, in 70 pound leader here because it's bright orange and I hope you're going to be able to see it, and fingers crossed, as we say, you shouldn't lose any more fish. Let's get cracking. Well, I'm going to be using something else. I'm going to be using a big hook because I can see it and I can see the eye. I'm going to put that thick leader through it, and I'm also going to be using the old binoculars, because I can't see anything without them when I get to tie fishing knots. Once you get over 40, everything starts dropping off. So a pair of glasses, and then you make sure you tie the knot correctly. I'm going to put it in a vise. Let's see if we can do the first one. First one is a real standard one, just called a blood knot. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put the hook in a vise. It's a big Mustad 7731 Sea Demon hook. Small marlin hook I'm going to use. I'm using my wife's best black jacket here, so please don't let her know we got it out in the workshop. She'll be totally peed off. Right, blood knot, here we go. There's the eye of the hook. Here's the tag end of your fishing line. You just go straight through the eye, leave about, I don't know, 3 inches. Put your finger in the loop here, and then just roll what we call the tag end. This is called, the loose end's called the tag end in fishing line. You go through there 5 times. Okay, I'll try and do this as slow as I can so you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the tag end goes back through the hole that I've already opened with my finger. Okay, like this. Now that's going to want to burn and stick on itself. So what you generally do is put some spit on there, which for those with a squeamish disposition, look away now. I've put a spit on my fingers, put a bit of spit on there, and that should slide down nice and tight. I'm going to pull it with a pair of pinchers, just like that. That'll snug it right up, and pull it really tight there. Another little tug just to make sure it's gone down like that. You can also slide the barrel knot down with the pinchers if you want. You might fracture the line there. Now that's just a general standard fishing knot for most purposes that you go in, you know, freshwater fishing, bait fishing, sea fishing, whatever. Now I don't like to snip it off close there. I like to leave about what I call 1/8 of an inch and just snip it here, about level with the outside eye of the hook. Bang, that's off. So that's your standard knot. That's a standard one. Now I'm going to pull this unbelievably hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it slide or not, but let's do the vise up. This is, I want to show you something. That's as tight as I can get the vise. I'm going to work it and work it and work it. It won't come, it won't come, it won't come. There, right, now that's what I wanted to do. Now this you cannot get away from, folks. That is the telltale sign of a fishing knot that has slipped. So when you lose a fish, if you get that, there's one person to blame. That's the guy that tied the knot. Okay, so if you get this, that means something's cut through. You've been on a rock, a snag, or something with teeth is cut through cleanly. But when you get this, that's down to one person, the knot tire. So although that blood loop under normal conditions probably wouldn't slip at all, I was putting undue pressure on it. I'm going to tie it again with what's called a tuck blood. Now this is exactly the same. You go round, put your finger in the gap, you go round and round 5 times. Alright, now you put it through the hole as per normal, so it's gone through the hole, but you notice I've got my finger, I've made a secondary hole back here, so I've gone through this loop and then I'm folding it back, do it really slowly, and I'm going through that loop there, just like that. Now that is called a tucked blood. Now this one, a little bit of spit on the end there, just to make it slide down. This one, I can pull right down easily like that, and snug it up nice and tight. This one, I can assure you I have to take a photograph. Right, now I've got 70-pound line. That's as hard as I can pull without... it's cutting in my fingers. I don't want to put gloves on, you're just going to have to take my word for it. But that's in a vice. I'm putting 40, 50 pounds of pressure on there. That has not moved. It's called a tuck blood loop. Now, any knot with a load of wraps around it is going to want to frictionalise, I call it, in here. It's going to want to burn itself. So that's where you put the spit on. Otherwise, when you put it down, it heats up and bites into itself and it can break. So, bit of spit on any wrapped knot with a lot of turns helps it slide down. So same procedure, just the width of the hook here, just that width there. Just snip the end off and leave that tag end up. The fish are going to take that whole piece of metal. They're not going to be worried about this little piece here. So there you have it. That is a tuck blood loop. That's the one to use for most of your fishing. Now, if you want to take a hook off, don't cut it here, because you have to be 2 cuts, don't you? You have to cut here and then cut there. If I cut there, oh great, I cut the hook off. Oh no, I still got to get the knot off. Get a pair of snippers, cut the knot. Job done, much easier to tie on. This one, I call it, well, it's called the uni knot. Again, it's for sort of bait fishing, lures, anything like that. It's a pretty basic knot, but it's a good one because it doesn't slip much. Tag end comes up through the eye of the hook. Bring it round. Leave yourself a good, 3-4 inches here to work with, maybe a bit longer. So you pinch, use your fingers and just pinch it so the tag end and the main line are both parallel. And then you just roll the main tag end. I'll see what it's difficult for me to tie this because I'm trying to work around the camera. 1. Okay, it's out. I'll do it very, very slow for you. 2. Come out. 3. Nearly. Come on. And I go through there 4. I know some people use 5 or 6, but I use 4. There's 4. Okay, now you can see the turns there. They want to touch up like this, up to each other. Now what I'm going to do is to pull this way on the main line. The main line is going to pull while retaining that tag end in my hand here. I'm sliding my finger down at the same time, so rolling up underneath my thumb. I can feel the knot rolling under my thumb, so it pinches up, and what it'll do, it'll be a sliding knot. As you can see, I'll pull it a bit closer for you. There's the knot, so the knot's formed there. You can pull this, wrap it around, you can pull that as hard as you want, and now just watch it slide down. A little bit of spit around there, help it slip, watch, you'll see it slide now. You push it with your thumb as well, look, beautiful. Just snugs in there, pull it as tight as I can, and then get the tag end with a pair of flies and just rock it backwards and forwards like this. Okay, again, the tag end with this one doesn't stick outwards, it doesn't stick out here, it faces more along the shank. Now you can snip it off a little bit closer, but I still don't like doing that. I still like about there. I like to leave that little tag in there just in case anything does give under there. Now this one, we'll take a few wraps and we'll give it the treatment. Now I just saw that move a fraction where it all cinched up tight, but it does not slip out. That is 40-50 pounds, in fact the bench is moving. Uni knot, remember that one, that's a great one. Now there's another one I use if you're live baiting, when you don't want the knot actually biting into the hook. Well, it's not biting into it, it's biting, it's fixed onto that eye. You want a swivel knot, you want a loop knot, because you might be fishing with a lure. Let's take that one out and we'll start again. Okay, now this one I call the loop knot. It's for when you want some movement around the eye of the hook. You don't want the knot cinched up absolutely tight there. You can use it on the loop, on the front of a lure. You can use it on a hook like this. If you're fishing a live bait and you want lots of action swimming around, basically the knot is not butting up tight against the hook eye. Here's how we do it. Take about 4 inches of your tag line, a single overhand loop. Just like that, okay? Then you take your tag line and you come up through the eye of the hook, like this. And then allow about, I guess about a thumb width there, just about where I got the thumb. And you take your tag end and you bring it up through the loop, just like that. So you can see the little loop, the sort of knot and loop. You slide it down a bit if you want. And then you go around here, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 4. Some people do more. I'm doing 4. Okay, get my tag end and put my tag end through that overhand loop. Can you see that just here? You can just see it there. Now I'm going to tie this. It'll probably be a bit longer than I would use for fishing, but it just makes it easy to show you. Just start pulling it down. Get a bit of spit on there. Hold the tag end at the same time. It'll start cinching down now. I'm going to put pressure on here on the main line. And that pulls the knot down. Now because this is 70 pounds, not what I'd normally be using. I do use it for marlin then. I just rock it backwards and forwards and we'll take a good old pull at this now. Let's take a wrap on this. And it's pulling it down tight, okay? Now when I've pulled it down tight, I still give it a good tug backwards like this, just to retighten it, rock it backwards and forwards a bit. Now there you can see is the loop. So it can rotate, your lures can work properly, your live bait can swim around freely, and that is a really strong knot. Now you can snip the tag end off of this one. Now these, I would still leave it sticking out. As I say, they're going to eat the whole fish. It might be a 1 pound fish on the end of here that you're going to use if it's marlin, but you can use this live bait rig for anything at all. You can also melt that back with a light if you want. If you do, just put your nail or something there so you just warm it and you'll see it start to shrink back down. So there's the loop knot and plenty of movement on it, and it is very, very strong. I can't break it on that at all. Loop knot, use it for live baiting and lure fishing. Okay, next one I'm going to show you, I call it a snelled hook. That's S-N-E-L-L-E-D, snelled hook. You use them for mackerel feathers, making up your mackerel feathers, or a lot of people use them for both bait fishing. Now I'm going to have a trouble tying this one. I'm going to have to lean right round the camera, coming from the other side. Let's start that again. So I'm going through the eye here, leave a good 4 or 5 inches, 6 inches. Then you're going to roll this loop back. I'll move my hand so you can see the loop. You've got a loop there. I'm going to just keep my finger there, and I'm going to roll the main tag line around the main line, butting it up from the eye, back of the, or the base of the eye of the hook. That's 2 turns, 3 turns, 4 turns. I'm only doing 5, but you can do more if you want. Some people like to use more. Then make sure that this loop's not twisted up. Put the tag end through that loop, okay? Now, do not let it all go. I've got it there. I'll get my fingers out of the way. I've got pressure on the tag end, and I'm going to, a little bit of spit on everything, doesn't hurt, doesn't go adrift. I'm going to pull downwards on this one, and it should slide. You should start to see the loop slide out of my fingers. There you go. And it's going to watch, it's going to pull this tag end tight. Now what happens is it all slides and butts up against this. It's what we used to use on spade end hooks, and a spade end hook doesn't have an eye, it just has a flattened end to the end of your hook here, which is, you know, we use it for a lot for small fish fishing, but you can use it as well. And I'm going to take my other hand away, give it a good pull down or a good few wraps. Now you can see this not really bed in, but get your pliers, work against that, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards, while you're under pressure on that tag line. Let's give it the treatment, guys. Yeah, it's not moving. It's not moving, and it's not intended to move. Again, don't go down here, 1/8 of an inch, about there. Snip, job done. Now that's quite rigid. That's what I call a rigid knot. There'd be no movement around the eye with this. The pull when you strike comes straight down and is transmitted straight along that shaft in a straight line. Absolutely in a straight line there. If you had it tied through the eye, you can pull sideways, you know, whatever. It rotates around this rim of the eye. This one, it's located through the eye, but it doesn't roll around too much. It's pulled from further back, and that is a really strong knot. Okay, so I call it a snelled knot, and there is a variation on it. To get it off, to get that knot off, get a box cutter or Stanley knife, bing, just cut those knots off. Job done. We'll move on to the next one. Okay guys, now this is my absolute best knot. This is my absolute best knot. I use it all the time, more than any other knot. It's called the Albright Special, and it was designed by a Florida guiding captain, Jimmy Albright, for joining lines of different diameters. I have the 70 here in bright orange, and I have 50 in clear here. Now I use this for joining lines of the same diameter, and it still works. I use it all the time if you're joining lines together, adding leaders, that sort of thing. Here's the thick line. This one's a thick line here, the orange stuff. The orange stuff's a thick line. We're going to make a loop over, just like that. Just going to make that loop, pinch that together. Then I'm going to put through the leader, the trace, whatever you want to call it, the join, and I'm going to pinch it, just like this. This is the remaining section of the leader or line I want. This here, as you can see, is the tag end. I'm going to take the tag end around the all three lengths there. There's 3 lengths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 9. Okay, you're pinching everything, especially this left hand thumb. Look how I'm pinching the loops to stop them unraveling. There's the loop I'm going to go through. Now I take my tag in and I put it through that loop, pull it tight. Okay, this is just definitely a spit one, but I'm going to try and pull it as much as I can, because if I go too far, I'm going to let go. It's all going to fall. I'm pulling on the main line now. I'm holding the tag in together. Everything's been held. Just look up here and watch that coil start to close down. Okay, now you might be able to see it. I'm going to risk putting some spit on it. Huh? Hasn't fallen a bit. I'll put some spit on it for you. And I'm trying to do this all in one go. I'm easing it and easing it and easing. Now look what a beautiful knot that's making. You can gradually pull it down with your nail, but you'll get most of the tension. Now I've let go of this tag end. I've let go of this tag end, so I've got the 2 tag ends left over. This here is the 70 and this here is the 50. Now let me just go the other side of the camera and I can give it a really good pull. Now look at it binding down. Look, it's moving, pulling right down on itself there, and all I do is get, obviously you do this with your fingers normally. The line's so thick I'm trying to pull it neat for you because it's a 70-pound line, just so you can see it. Now this one, this is a beauty. This one you can actually snip off. I use it for fly traces as well. That goes off there, and we go off there. Now that has all touching turns along there, so it's nice. It's a neat knot. Now you can also, if you wanted, you can just melt those tag ends down if you wanted, with either a hot knife or just putting a lighter there. You run a risk of fatiguing this line here, you know, weakening it. I'm going to give it a pull. There we go. Now that's pulled down nice and neat, and you can see that goes through rod guides. You even snip it up a little bit more there. There's taggy little tiny little tag bits. That's a nice neat knot. That is my favourite knot without a doubt, and I use it for joining the same diameter lines, but Jimmy Albright, the guide, the captain, designed that for leaders of different diameter. It's really good if you had, say, 30-pound fly line, 30-pound leader to your fly line. You want to scale it down. Okay, I want to add a piece of 10 pounds. That's fine, and you peel off 10 pounds. You go all the way down 10 pounds, say put 2 or 3 feet on. You make your loop, you do your barrel rips, and you put from here down to say 4 pounds. So you can actually make tapered leaders with this yourself. And it's also good for joining line if you have a line break. I like that one. There is another one, and we'll take a look at that as well. This is the Albright. So that'll give you a few knots to be going on with, and they apply to both fresh and saltwater fishing. But once you start in the big boys league, you're in 50-pound line and upwards. boat fishing, you've got sharks, you've got skate, you've got marlin, you've got tuna, you've got these guys here. Then of course, a lot more pressure. You're going to need something like a double line, which is your 50-pound line. It goes down, it goes back, and then you tie a swivel on. So 2 more knots, and then you know what? You're on track for getting one of these guys. Okay, so you want to tie a double line. That means if you get a big fish, if one section breaks, it rolls up over the trace, the second section will hold it. So you take, I'm using, let's call this orange 70-pound line, let's call this my reel line. So I'm going to tie this really, really short, just so you can see it. It's basically called a surgeon's loop, and effectively it's a double overhand loop, but it'll give me a double line. Normally I would tie this, it could be 8, 10, 12 feet long, this double line. So you got your big loop of line, bear in mind from here to here is 12 feet. Come on ladies, use your imagination. I'm trying to help you here. Just get both doubled lengths and roll it over. Put the whole of the loop, you're going to have to feed the whole loop through here. I'm just doing it easily because I'm tying it short so you can see it. That goes right the way through once, but don't do it once, do it twice. Put the main loop, feed all your line all the way through here, and then it'll roll over on itself, and the usual little bit of spit. And pull it tight. There we go. Now I've got nothing to pull against here, so let's loop that again and try and pull that really tight for you. That's it, now it's pulled down. Now my guess is that they use that possibly in hospitals in some way, shape or form to tie off people's operations, and that's why they call it the surgeon's loop. I have no idea, but that there is a surgeon's loop, and it gives you effectively the doubled line here. Now to the end of this you're going to put a swivel, but you don't just use an ordinary knot, you use what's called an offshore trolling knot. This is what it looks like. Okay, here we go again. Here's your swivel. Now this is a Sampo ball bearing swivel, a very strong snap swivel here, like that. Obviously it can apply to any sort of fishing, but generally if you're going for big fish it's going to be a Sampo or an equivalent ball bearing swivel. Now they have, because they're very good quality, if you can see that there, they have a weld mark there. So I put the weld on the inside of the actual casing there. So it's a nice smooth bit of metal on the outside. Right, now what you're going to do is you're going to take your knot from here. Imagine this is still 10, 12, 15 feet long. Pinch the line and you're going to pull that line so it's equidistant. It's coming down parallel till you get to the end loop here. Okay, so it's nice and neat. You haven't got one length longer than the other. And then you push the loop through like this. I might actually have to come around. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to try and do this over this side. I don't know whether you're going to see this. So then, that's how it's laying, the swivel. You rotate it over, just turn it over like that, with one twist, and put the loop on the other side. You can see the double loop there? So it's 2 loops where my finger is. And then you put the swivel through there, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Right, okay. You know what's coming next? A good lot of spit. And this one does take a bit of pulling down. You're going to have to work it with your thumb. So here we go. We're going to try and work this down. I'm just going to tease it. The sticking point, get some more spit, is there. Just up here. So we're going to ease that down. Just like this. It's very difficult to pull it over in front of the camera. There's the knot going down. Oh. Okay, you can also do a tweak on the inside with your thumb like this. And there we go. That is the offshore trolling knot. Now this can attach to your shark trace, your marlin lure. In this case I'll show you, it's going to go through the hook eye here. Like this. There you go. And so you imagine this is going to be your trace to your marlin lure, your shark trace. Close it up and there is a really nice little neat knot there. And Make sure the vice is done up. And you can see, there you go, I'm going to give it a bit of juice. Yeah, it does never move. I'll probably bend the hook out of position before it moves. Oh. Right, now what I want to show you is, down this way to the other end is your shark or marlin trace. The fish rolls up and his body goes around this 8 or 10 feet of double line. Now normally if that was single, if he rolls up and breaks it, snap, gone, you've lost the fish. But the idea of the double line is, under pressure, if something just breaks there, I'm going to cut this one, watch, bang. One double line's been broken by his, say, his rough skin of the marlin or shark, but I've still got the fish on the 50. I've lost one, it's broken, I'm still on the second one. And do you know what? I've had 3 or 4 times when I've had big marlin roll up on a trace, they bust a yellow line, and I've still caught them because I've had the one single. So there you have the surgeon's loop to make your double line, and you have the offshore trolling knot, which goes onto the swivel. Well, there you've got quite a few tips on some fishing knots that should stop you losing more fish. You want to catch them, not lose them. So look out for the next edition of How To in the Totally Awesome Fishing series. As for me, I'm going to take this puppy in the bathroom and see if I can tie a knot to catch this one. Good fishing, guys. Come on, come with me. Come with me.